get a microphone, so I thank you all for coming out. I really do appreciate it. A couple more minutes and we'll get started. Thank you so much. Don't forget, they're going to get all from me. That's the old Tom. I love it. I love it. The old time. All right, they got the old one. That's good. Much better looking now. You know, this is perfect. I appreciate the work. Lynn is allowing me to use her microphone. Thanks, what democracy is all about. Amen. Amen. I'm so glad you're here. So Lynn, before you leave, Lynn has a nice flag on her lapel. So if we could start this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, I think that would be appropriate. So, I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
indivisible.
And the indivisible is this land is your land.
Let him talk.
This land is our land. From California to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. Let's make it happen!
Okay, I think we, obviously, thanks again for everybody to the town for hosting us here today. And obviously, the logistics are going to improve as we continue to do these town halls, but I appreciate you bearing with us, okay? So I really appreciate it. I think we got some input, some questions, and some people have asked me some questions coming in, so I want to have a conversation with you. And first and foremost, I want to listen. I want to listen. So what? Okay, so the first question. First question is in the committee. It is absolutely correct and accurate that I voted against that action in the committee because I'm very sensitive about giving the government
Hold the megaphone in front of your
face.
face.
Tax return released publicly. So when we talk about releasing the privacy rights of an individual, an American citizen, I appreciate that, and this is obviously a question that has been in the campaign.
He's a public
And as we go forward, I'm sure this issue will be a continuation and will not go away. A lot of questions on health care.
Have you ever had to release your tax
That is
return?
something we should talk about.
Yes.
So I think you know my position on the Affordable Care Act is that I stand for the repeal of the Affordable Care Act.
Do you have a plan to replace it? What's your plan, Tom? What's your plan, Tom?
Deal with the repeal of the Affordable Care Act that we've had. I'm sorry?
Universal health care!
So there's a suggestion on it to give members of Congress's health care to everyone. I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. We're in Obamacare exchange right now. We're essentially the postal care health care package that works for us and that we have selected. And whatever Congress has available to it, I believe that should be available to everybody across the land. Go through the replacement of the Affordable Care Act. I want to hear from you, but I'll give you some ideas of what we are supporting and what we are advocating for as we go forward. One, we got to make sure that on the issue of Medicaid and the Medicaid expansion in New York, that is put in a position where people don't lose access to Medicaid. I believe when what's gaining traction in the House is something that I agree with, is that we should put a freeze on the Medicaid expansion as we speak today. And as we go forward, we make sure that when we deal with Medicaid, that the Medicaid program at 100% of poverty levels is continued going forward and continue to be supported by the federal government.
What's the percentage? Are you going to
So that
raise
would mean
the
that when
percentage?
we freeze that Medicaid expansion, everybody who is in those Medicaid programs today will be in those Medicaid programs tomorrow. I'm sorry?
If you voted for eligible for Medicaid, the median per capita income is $23,000 a year.
Amen.
Remember, 23.
Average is about 26,000. The last time we looked at the numbers. So that is why Medicaid going forward is something I support and that I do believe will continue. So those individuals that will qualify for Medicaid at those levels will continue.
Who's gonna lose their insurance, Tom? Who's gonna lose their insurance?
We will.
Who I care deeply about. What we're looking at on the other side of the equation is to reform the health savings accounts and to make Congressman Lee, will you take some questions from the back?
Where do you need to work?
Oh, come on.
Go ahead. What's that?
What if you don't make enough money to save?
There you go. Yeah!
Congressman Lee, will you take some questions from the back? Will you take some questions from the back, Congressman? Sure, go ahead.
Bring that microphone up here. Bring my microphone. You know what? In 1995, for 18 years, I paid $700 a month for $15,000 deductible as a self-employed entrepreneur with 2 children. The last 3 years, I finally have something affordable. Will you?
Just so we're clear, I'm going to stand for the
Affordable
repeal of the
Health Care
Affordable Care Act, and I don't...
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
As we go forward, we want to make sure that you have access to health insurance. So what I'm looking for is input on how we can improve the system. Because
Do your job!
it's just not working. What about pre-existing conditions?
Yeah!
Congressman, we have another question. Congressman, we have another question.
Good speaker repeats the question.
My family has insurance. Insurance is supposed to be affordable. The city insurance, the foreign insurance, what are you going to do for me when I resign? How are you going to
That's fair.
What's the question?
So,
Repeat the question. What's
Now
the
first,
question?
the city of Cornell's health benefit is not available to you. You can't afford the city's plans. We need to talk to Mayor Hogan about that and have a conversation with him. So then the question becomes, how are we going to make sure you have health insurance going forward? So first of all, you're a working family. Yeah. So you'll get an advanceable refundable tax credit that you would be available to you, that you can go and purchase health care that works for you.
Baloney! That is
You will have access to that tax credit in order to buy. We would also reform your health savings account so that you could have access to additional cash so that you can use that for health care.
Why don't you pay for my...
That is what
That doesn't help us!
available to you.
I have access to Alexis, but I can't afford it.
Universal! And my question is, are you with Gates and Johnson on repealing the EPA? And if you are, what do you want to put in its place? Please, we are very interested in that. Thank you.
Well, we got a bunch of questions. I was gonna pull out a bunch of written questions that were handed to me, and I noticed they had the issue of repealing the EPA. One, we are opposed to repealing the EPA. And we will continue.
What are you going to do?
Environmental Destruction Agency now. And as I've said before, we are committed to EPA, making sure that they do the job of keeping our air clean and our water clean and providing a safe environment.
What about Scott Pruitt?
When we talk about overreach and regulation, I'm going to be a voice that's going to
Give an example. Give one example. Give one example. What's overreach?
Let's hear an example of overreach. Let's hear an example. From coal into the river.
The government put money into research and development in green energy that would benefit us all if we're going to keep the EPA. That's how the government puts money into ending the fossil fuel industry, behaviorally modifying themselves. So please, get off fossil fuels once and for all. Thank you.
Well, I so appreciate that input and that recommendation, and that is why we have supported an all of the above energy strategy, which also includes things like the production tax credit, the investment tax credit. We have been a loud voice on the Republican side to expand those tax credit programs for alternatives and renewables like geothermal, solar, wind, many new technologies that are out there.
Then why do you want to bring fracking back?
All of the above approach.
Say it louder. Say it louder.
President, who is against that?
Congressman, we have a few more questions for you.
Telling us that they're not for these things.
There you go. That's why it's a process, and that's I'm 1-4-35. Congressman. Yeah. Tom. Always Tom.
I heard on the radio yesterday that they are cutting out all funding, all State Department funding for the refugee resettlement programs in Western New York. These are for refugees that are already here and desperately need assistance to assimilate into their communities. They've cut off the funding. And I'm wondering if you're willing to send a letter to the State Department, to representatives, to ask them to restart the funding for the refugees that are already here.
This is exactly why I believe in this democratic process of town halls. So the cutting off of the funding that you're referenced, I'm not exactly sure what direction you're referring to. So I appreciate that input. And we're talking about funding for legally here refugees and access to facilities and programs that allow them to be here in a safe fashion. Is that right?
Yes.
Right here in Western New York in the district.
Yeah, your district. And 21%
So what I'm going to ask is if I can get some more details from you. I asked them your name, contact information, and exactly the details on what you're referring to, so that we can get you some additional information.
He's probably got
Because to me, that
25
doesn't make
staff
sense to do
members.
Congressman, I'd like to ask, why have you not signed H.R. 356 that the bill for the independent investigation into the right interference in our election?
The investigation into Russian activity and hacking of the election, to me, is not there.
Tell the truth!
There's no voter fraud, and this was a duly held election.
Company, you're the
Investigation! Investigation!
to this administration to be forced to resign due to improper ties to Russia.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that Russia hacked the Democratic Party. Extensive communications between the administration, campaign, and Russian operatives have been uncovered. My friends, family, and co-workers are all extremely concerned by the appearance that Russia is hacking our democracy. Further evidence reveals improper ties by this administration to Russia.
Tell the truth.
Well, I appreciate the question and I appreciate the concerns, but as it indicated, Michael Flynn was not fired because of the Russian activity. He was investigated as they come forward with legitimate evidence.
What is legitimate?
Congressman, what are you going to do to help people in the hospital? If further evidence shows an impropriety from whatever sector of the world, or whatever is there, then obviously we will look at that evidence, but we will honor our oversight responsibility in Congress to look at that, and I will do that myself.
Okay, I work at a university, and a lot of our international students are very nervous, and our district